Ball up!
I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Playing from the Tips, the preview and tipping podcast from Golf Australia magazine, where we have a big week of golf ahead for you. Jimmy Emanuel here, attempting to navigate the world of golf for the week, where our main focus will be squarely on the next major championship, the US Women's Open, that sees the LPGA Tour's best head for Pebble Beach golf links for the first time, and we will cover the 78th US Women's Open from every angle. We'll also cover the PGA Tour's John Deere Classic, LIV Golf London, and the DP World Tour's Made in Himmerland. Along for that ride are two of the so-called experts from Golf Australia's stocks. Firstly, columnist, podcaster, producer, and the man with a thumbprint the size of the seventh green at Pebble Beach, Rod Murray. Welcome.
Is that Jimmy the winner, Emmanuel? Is that what we're going?
Yeah, absolutely the winner. Yeah, Ricky Fowler, myself.
Winner. Well done.
We, not I. We.
Did you pick Ricky?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Nice work. Okay.
Yeah. And next is someone who is known around the world as one of golf's most foremost experts on paths, yet is frighteningly excited for a new walkway in the vicinity of this studio where we record each week. Adrian Logue, have you been bored out by big concrete?
The path here, there are times, Jimmy, when concrete is necessary in high traffic areas.
In the right environment, It's the perfect solution.
Exactly.
Have you used the new tunnel?
I've used the new tunnel. There's a new tunnel for everybody who's been hanging on this news.
Yeah.
The big infrastructure news in St Leonard's this week is there's a new tunnel going under the highway from the Forum,
Little train station,
where the train station is, to where I live, which has
a Coles.
I
live on the train station side,
highway,
so I can now get to the Coles
without
going through any.
There's a podcast in this for just the two of you.
Yeah,
well, we're not.
The tunnel is real and it's magnificent.
Do a poll in your own office. Your office is down near the Forum.
Yeah,
too. Everyone there's talking about the Coles and the
Coles.
tunnels.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, outside of the tunnel opening, any highlights from last week for anyone? It's obviously the one
I'm very disappointed in Ricky Fowler delaying his come to form from LACC, where I'd picked him, and after that I was done with him. And I did have a lot of thoughts about him winning this week. I'm happy for you though, Jimmy. I think I should approach this with dignity and honour.
It was
I'm happy with you for you.
Great
Jimmy.
Celebration too. Just stood there in the middle of the green after he holed the putt.
Yeah,
the caddy went to jump on him and he just didn't move. It was great.
I thought Dan Hillier actually was a real highlight. If you're from this part of the world, clearly an incredibly popular player.
Yeah.
All of those players hanging around that 18th green, genuinely happy for him when he won. I know almost not much about him. See the name, obviously, on leaderboards, and he's been playing well the last couple of weeks.
Great amateur career.
But, so good on him. That was...
really good final round, too, and close to it when
4 holes
trying to win your first
absolutely.
event. That was very impressive.
Absolutely.
So congrats, Dan. Before we dive in, let's look back at those results. And, of course, the mentioned win with Ricky Fowler, but we also added 4 other top 10s, meaning we now sit at 15 wins and 118 top 10s for 2023.
Can I just say, I had Guido Migliozzi, who was co-leading after the third round. I thought, well, finally, Guido's shot +5 on Sunday and finished 28th or something.
We had a couple of top 15s. Minwoo Lee and a couple others. Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking about. But then we'd have to go back and count the others, and I'm not going to do that. So moving ahead, the US Women's Open, of course, takes centre stage this week. Just 2 weeks since the last major when Royong Yin won the KPMG Women's PGA at Baltusrol, and without a tournament played in between, uniquely, between those two events. Of course, last year it was Minjee Lee who won the title at Pine Needles, her second major win inside 12 months, and by a margin of 4 strokes from Mina Haragay. Minjee also set the 72-hole scoring record for the tournament at 13 under. She became the third Australian to win the US Women's Open alongside Jan Stevenson and Kari Webb. And interestingly, when we spoke to her last week, hadn't been to Pebble Beach for an early scouting trip, which I thought she'd had a bit of a break earlier in the year. I think she'd come back to Australia even for a little while, but didn't pop in, which is interesting to me. But
tough to get used to that superstar status, I would think. And she moved into superstar status in the last 2 years, and she's not as comfortable in that spotlight as her brother.
Certainly.
So I would imagine it's disrupted loads of things, including perhaps her preparations, and she's figuring out what works for her. Because if she turned up at Pebble, you'd imagine she'd be getting not swamped, but there'd be a lot of people wanting bits and pieces of her time. So
I think she's maybe not a one to go to golf courses early in any case. She did a Bolters role, though, I believe. So
that might have been the performance of the year last year, mightn't it? That Women's Open. That was special.
That
was
ball striking.
Yeah.
Given that she hasn't been there yet, I imagine Minjee's going to be tuning in very attentively to Adrian Logue as he takes us through.
Find out a little bit about the golf course, Pebble Beach. It was founded in 1919. It's one of the most storied venues in golf, not just US golf. But it is a favourite venue of the USGA, and it's known for hosting many USGA championships. It was originally designed by noted local amateur golfers Jack Neville and Douglas Grant, who were engaged by the founder of Pebble Beach, Samuel Morse. The routing that was laid out by Neville and Grant has more or less stood the test of time, with very few changes. The changes that have occurred are more around restyling some greens, and we've all seen the old photos of what Pebbles looked like over the years with various incarnations. It must be said, though, that the routing that Neville and Grant put in place is quite remarkable for the amount that it makes use of the coast.
It's a journey, isn't it, Pebbles? It's a real journey.
There's fully 9 holes on the coast.
Yep.
Not all of them were on the coastline at the time of that original routing. The 5th, notably, was a little bit of coastline that the club didn't have, and they eventually acquired that land, and Jack Nicklaus built a hole on there, a par 3, which is a bit meh.
Yep.
But that stretch 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is just remarkable. Like the big sort of charismatic holes are the 6th and the 7th and the 8th.
The 8th.
But I think 9 and 10 are absolutely spectacular, where they're sort of heading back downhill, and it's the way those greens are set with the ocean as a backdrop.
Further to the right, especially on 9.
Perhaps.
There's
some
a
little bit of lost fairway there on the right of 9 as well, which you'd love to see.
The greens are what make that so interesting. Or that whole stretch, 7, 8, 9 and 10, the greens are really the spectacular coastline and shots to get there. But it's the green when you get there is what sorts things out. Hit on the wrong side of the hole.
That's right. Well, and they're quite short. They're quite small greens, so you're not likely to have a long putt if you get them on there. But that is remarkable. And then the course takes a little bit of a break, some inland holes, and it comes back out to the ocean again on 17 and 18. Interestingly, the thing I find most remarkable about that routing is that almost all of those holes, particularly the long holes, all hug the coastline. They don't like poke out into the coastline and come back inland. It's just remarkable to think that there's so much coastline,
so much land there,
with holes hugging the coastline. It's just the 7th and the 17th that really poke out to the coastline. The rest all hug the coastline, which I think is quite remarkable. Going back in history, the 18th was actually restyled by Herbert Fowler in the 1920s, shortly after the course was created. It used to be a shortish par 4, the 18th. And where that long bunker on the left kicks in, there was sort of a little cove there, which and the fairway ended there with a green. And it was this shortish par 4, and people sort of complained. They didn't love that. But there was all this land they could see behind this little cove. So Fowler actually filled that in to create fairway and extend that hole into a par 5, par 5 that we know today.
That inside on the left side there.
Correct, yeah. Right. And possibly one of the the greatest finishing holes in golf. And that wall that we know along that 18th bunker on the left there is not actually a seawall. It's like a rampart that holds that piece of
the bit of fairway,
fairway there. So quite interesting. And it must be said, it is one of the great finishing holes in golf. And I think this week that's going to be a hole to watch if there's anything coming down to the wire. We saw a lot of very interesting mistakes made left into water at Bolter's Roll at the KPMG US Women's Open, PGA. And it's a very similar shot that it demands on the tee, off the tee, and then for the second shot. It just gets more interesting the closer you get to the green, really. There's trees in play as well on 18, which is a little bit quirky. A couple off the tee and another massive pine just before the green.
Anybody else remember Tiger hitting the cut shot around that tree in 2010?
Yeah.
That's a gutsy play. Aim it at the ocean.
Out on the water, yeah.
Trying to make the cut, I think he was at the time too.
Yeah.
And sling it 60 yards back.
There are some other, apart from the original designers of the course, it's a who's who of people who've come in and dabbled with the course over the years. In preparation for the 1929 US Amateur Championship, which was the first of the big USGA events that was held at Pebble Beach, Robert Hunter and Chandler Egan came in and remodeled a lot of the greens and restyled the bunkers. And it was from that exercise that we see a lot of those photos where they tore the bunkers up and had beautiful sort of frilly edges and a style of bunker that has been, I guess, sadly lost now. The bunker style at Pebble Beach now is a lot more of an inland sort of a vibe.
Very organised, aren't they? Very tidy.
Very tidy and organised. That said, it is a clay-based course. It's like a cliff-top course on clay.
It's sand, is it?
Yeah, unlike just up the road, some of the other courses along the Monterey Peninsula, which are very sandy. Pebble is more clay-based cliff-top golf, which we'd be familiar with a little bit in Sydney. So that bunkering in a way actually is right. You can't help but wonder, though, if they could somehow find a way to put aside commercial interests for 6 or 12 months and shut down the course and remodel it, what you would do with it. In particular,
you've seen what that would cost you in lost revenue.
I think it's $575
I think the cheapest round of golf you can have for a guaranteed tee time is close to $1,000 US because you've got to stay at one of the hotels attached to the site. So there's 500 there and then there's 500 for the green fee.
Yeah.
Staggering.
Just interesting. I mean, it's worth just noting a little bit Robert Hunter's influence on the course. Robert Hunter, of course, famous for working with Mackenzie on Cypress Point, among other things, and author of the fabulous book, The Links, and a book that's still to this day used as reference for architects to come up with ideas for bunker shapes in particular.
A book that featured on the book club, which you've once again called out about.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
The Good Golf Podcast Book Club, which is in hiatus, permanent hiatus. Perhaps.
Petering out.
I don't know. We'll see. I like to leave some hope alive there. In more recent years, Arnold Palmer's design company has beefed up the course a little bit. Arnold Palmer is was one of the 4 owners of the course. I don't know who the others were. Clint Eastwood's one, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
So, of course, Arnold Palmer used his design company to do the more recent work on the course, which involves just sort of keeping it a relevant tournament test, lengthening it in various ways. But that has effectively been what has created this aesthetic that we see today, which is spectacular because of the views, but perhaps not what it could be. Must be said, though, the land movement is magnificent at Pebble Beach. There's a big sort of tilt and rolling sort of aspect to a lot of the fairways. The cliff tops are really remarkable for how well they set up for golf. Like there's just little coves cutting in at just the right spots.
Which isn't always the case with cliff-top golf, is it? It looks spectacular, but it's not always good for golf. This is a rare combination of the two.
That's right. And generally speaking, like it's, you've got grassed areas which are flat enough for golf going right to the edges of the cliffs, which makes it really interesting. I think it'll be a magnificent test for a US Women's Open. It's still a really relevant test for the men. And US Women's Open is going to be quite special because I think we're going to find it'll examine players who don't just hit the ball straight. Accuracy is important at Pebble Beach, but really controlling your ball and shaping shots in the wind and
gets the greens.
Yeah, that's right. Getting the ball to shape into the fairways, these strongly tilting fairways. And then there's shots out there which are just a thorough test of like you're standing over the ball and there's a real do or die sort of aspect to the shot.
Big execution test.
Yeah, 6. The approach to 6, I think in particular, is one. The approach to 8 over the water, and those downhill approaches to 9 and 10. I
really
think.
Precise stuff.
Yeah, they're the sort of ones where if your ball striking is just off slightly, the ball's just going to be whipped away in the wrong direction, particularly if the wind blows. So I think you're going to look for a ball striker, but not just a ball striker, but somebody who really controls their shots really well. And we'll get into that, I guess, with the tips in a minute. But yeah, looking forward to this. I think hopefully, fingers crossed, the coverage will be better than what we saw for the last USGA event with the men's US Open at LACC.
Better venue, this one, and more familiar for the TV people.
Yeah,
hopefully.
much easier. I mean, they're doing TV there at least once a year, and they're, I mean, the setup's the other interesting part.
Yeah.
The rough is pretty thick and juicy from early sites.
That just goes without
saying kind of thing. But
bigger impact in the women's game.
I think it is. Yeah, I mean, with that lower club head speed, with the shorter clubs particularly, how much you can move something out of there
rules out some players who contend regularly elsewhere.
Like you talked about accuracy being important, which of course it is, but you need to have a little bit more pop as well at weeks like this, because when you do eventually hit it in the rough, you're going to hit it in the rough. You're not going to hit every fairway. You've got to have the speed to be able to move it out of there and advance it significantly. And Pebble's got, when you do get into trouble, the second shot where you're not hitting it at the green is often very much fraught with danger, where you can bring up your big number. So I think that's an important part of it.
Are you in the overrated camp? Pebble's a bit divisive. There's a whole bunch of people who go, it's 6 good holes and the rest is rubbish. And there's other people who go, it is a fantastic one of the great golf courses. Shackelford's in the great golf course.
6 great holes and the rest rubbish is absolute nonsense.
I do too.
The worst hole at Pebble Beach would be the best hole at almost every golf course in the world. I think it's extremely good golf course.
Hard to separate the history too, isn't it?
It's probably overrated because it is so held such high esteem.
But I think because of how highly it's held and how much money goes through there, it's always improved and improved and improved with little bits and pieces. So it's probably better than what a lot of people think too, because you see it once in person and it's probably changed a bit since then.
The inland holes are fine too. Really interesting, strategic. The 16th, I think, is one which it looks interesting. The green's set in a nice little bowl there, and it's well bunkered. The bunkering's very strategic as well.
All right. With that course breakdown, now let's head to some players. And Rod, can you take us through the players to watch before we offer up our best picks?
First things first, hat tip to the USGA. First story on the homepage of the US Women's Open. Hillary Lunke.
Yeah.
It's been 20 years since Hillary Lunke. That has to be the greatest upset in golf.
Strawberry Hills.
Well, she beat Annika Sorensen in a playoff, and that was unfathomable. It remains unfathomable even now. So hat tip to them for having Hillary on the homepage. She gets all too often overlooked. In terms of players, just quickly, the Australians in the field: Hannah Green, Madison Tolchan, as you mentioned, Grace Kim, Minjee Lee, Gabby Ruffles, and Genevieve Wong's playing under the Malaysian flag. But I think we claim her, don't we? Because
for sure.
She's a club champ at Metropolitan.
As long as she keeps playing well.
She's in Australia. So I ran through the field earlier today, obviously. The Ks are the pool of death.
The Ks?
Ks. Korda, the Kos, Sei Young, Yeoju and Aileen Kim, Danielle Kang and Jennifer Kupcho. Imagine being in the K pool.
Yep.
Done. The usual
pools aren't just a point of order.
Aren't just an alphabet.
There's no such thing as pools in a stroke play.
It just struck me because the way they laid out the page, they had the K.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're going through K and going, oh, winner's surely going to come from here, you'd think.
You're just inventing stuff.
Quite possibly.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. The usual suspects you'd look for. Nelly Korda in particular. Everything we just talked about with what the course will demand is Nelly Korda territory. She hasn't been at her best. She's been injured, all those other things, but I think it really suits her sort of game. Jin Young Ko, Lydia Ko, Rose Zhang, of course, can't not talk about Rose. The course she shot 63 on last year, I don't think will be what confronts them this time around. Not that she take nothing from that, but by the same token. Course record holder. Yeah. She broke the record last year as a college player, shooting 63. And that'll get mentioned ad nauseum, no doubt, this week. But I was very impressed with her at Baltusrol to not have her A game. Yep. And then the last day she had something close to her A game and nearly pulled it off. So she, of course, will be worth watching. Lexi Thompson, Brooke Henderson, Ataya Titikin, go through the world's top 10, 15 players, you'll certainly. But I want to go a little bit more left field for players that might stand. I'm going to start with Marja Stark.
Mm.
Is this your winner?
No. These are just players to watch who I think will have an interesting week. She's a...
Who haven't you mentioned so far?
I've done all the Ks. This is a big game golf course, and she's a big game player, Marja Stark.
Do you reckon it's Maya?
Marja? Maya.
Maya.
All right. Miss Stark. She oozes natural
Mitchell
talent.
Stark. Oh, confused.
She plays fearlessly, sometimes almost to the point of recklessness, and I think she'll have a really potentially interesting if she plays the best. I got to watch her at one of the New South Wales Women's Opens.
The one at Dubbo, I think.
Might have been at Dubbo. Just extraordinary natural
Who
talent.
didn't you see at that
Well, what a
Dubbo
tournament
New
that
South Wales
was.
Women's Open?
Go through and have a look.
Whoever at Dubbo green-lighted the payment to get that tournament out there has got full value
Rod
out
has
of Rod.
gotten-
Funnily enough,
It's been a source of material for you for many years.
Does it not point to why you should make the effort to go to some of these smaller events? Because
It
the
does.
players you're watching
Yeah.
are going to go on to become
Absolutely.
these players.
Yep.
But yeah, just extraordinary natural talent. Janet Lynn, G.U. Lynn.
Yes.
Almost never gets mentioned. 9th ranked player in the world. Totally underrated.
Yep.
Good player. Has high finishes. Tied third at both the PGA at Baldershall and the week before at the My LPGA event. So she's in form. Could quietly go about it.
And Ronnie Yin lives in her house.
Is that right?
Rents her house off her.
Yeah, she's a
What's
landlord.
going on with that?
Yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah, we did hear that, didn't we?
Yeah.
What goes on with it? The players seem to buy houses and then rent them to other players. Where do they live?
Is she officially Janet Lynn now? That's
Well, she's not Janet.
she-
I think they
Not
listed her as
official.
G.U. Janet.
Yeah, she doesn't get listed on the fields as, yeah.
I think they include
quality player. I picked her earlier in the year, so
Yeah.
I'm done with her. But
Yeah, good player. So she's,
You know,
she's been McIntyred.
yeah, Macca retired.
McIntyred. There you go. You'll like this one, Logue. This is out in left field. Amy Yang.
Oh, yeah.
7 top 10s in the US Open over time. She was Lehman-like from 2014 to about 17. She was 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 8th, which was thereabouts in the US Women's Open every year.
Thereabouts in the Chevron.
Well, exactly. Hasn't made the cut in the US Open for a bit.
We almost
but
had yin and yang in the Chevron going down the stretch.
Oh, dear. And I thought I was being silly with the Ks.
Okay.
She did play well a couple of weeks ago. Finished tied third at the Maya. So, look, who knows? And she's one of the nicest people and a really, really solid, good player, Amy Yang, so that'll be good. Alison Corpuz.
Yes.
Keeps bobbing up. I keep
Yeah.
saying the name.
She's
Hasn't
had a
done
chance at
anything.
the
Hasn't
Chevron,
closed
hasn't
it.
she?
Finished tied 4th at the Chevron.
Yeah.
But keep
She
an eye out
blew
for
it.
her this week. Who knows?
Famously laid up off the tee.
Yes.
Was that her?
Yeah.
Ooh. I'd forgotten that.
Yep,
Might have
that's
taken
good.
her back out.
Yeah.
No,
You
don't
can still
want-
watch her lay up.
Hopefully she's learned from that.
I would
She
say
won't-
so.
Yeah.
She won't lay up this time. And last one, just in terms of sort of left field players, Gemma Dryberg. She keeps it out of trouble, and it's about time she fired up and did something this year because she's been playing pretty poorly. Funnily enough, I saw her play the New South Wales Women's
Really?
Open.
Wow.
It was just a very solid sort of. And if the wind blows in particular,
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised. So
Anyone you haven't mentioned there?
Yeah, you
most
didn't
of-
mention Annika Sorensen.
most of the field.
no, Ash
don't
Buhai?
think
I didn't
it'd be
hear
worth
Ash Buhai there.
player to watch. I did think about putting Buhai there, but I'd put her in that first camp of the ones you'd expect. So I opened.
Oh,
with-
just she goes without saying.
yes.
Okay.
She's
All
kind of on that list of clearly. Hannah Green is another one I didn't mention it because
I'm
she's
going to
clearly
go
on
into the
that
Australians
list.
a little bit more. So
A
that's
list
okay.
of whatever. So
All right, well then let's have some picks in light of all that. Logue, you seem like you've got a lot of opinions on Rod's list, so you can go first.
let's see if he's got. A
Yeah,
K.
what have you got
Is it
that
one of the
we don't
Ks?
have?
No, I've got no Ks in my picks. We're just doing winner for the moment.
Winner for the moment.
My pick for winner is Brooke Henderson. Not mentioned by Rod.
I'm
she-
sure she was.
Was she? Okay.
Yeah, in the top line doesn't need to be
All right.
mentioned, but she was.
Okay, goes without saying.
Slighted.
Look, I think she's great at controlling her ball, which is the criteria I'm looking for. And she's sneakily getting into form and shown some.
Putter looked wonky.
I don't know that putting will be such an obstacle
Possibly
this
not.
week.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Small
You'll need to
greens.
make the short ones.
Brooke Henderson can
And
control
She's
it.
been not making the short ones. There's been
That's
some
been kind of the problem
fairly
this year.
unpleasant-looking strokes from Brooke Henderson.
Yeah.
Well, she won't make them with that attitude. That's,
Rod, a thought from you?
Well, I couldn't.
It's got to
find
be
my-
a K.
I couldn't. Well, no, it's not. I couldn't find my way back from left field, so I'm going with Angel Yin.
okay.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah.
Just the sort of game.
Great
She's
to
just
see
the
her
sort of
back
player who would just somebody come out and win the US Women's Open and then go back to being Angel Yin, who should win everything but doesn't.
Yep.
So why not?
Okay.
And I felt a bit for her at the Chevron. You could see she really felt
Yeah.
the pressure there in the
Yeah.
playoff and
She
everything.
could
So
really overpower this course.
I think it's a
She's good fun.
really classic US Open we're about to have, like a really sort of close to par, grinded out sort of thing from what I see. So I thought momentarily about Celine Boutier. But she's one of those ones that's just lacking a little bit of distance and power. So
Yeah.
I think Pebble will be a big golf course. So Leona Maguire for me. She's going to hit a lot of fairways. She's going to hit a lot of greens. Putting is not going to be as important this week as it would normally be at a major, I think. So it feels like she's kind of won a couple of weeks ago. It feels like she's right in the sweet spot to
some winning energy,
get a major and keep moving. A little bit more of a deep look into the Australian contingent. So we go from 8 at the Women's PGA to 5 in California. Minjee, obviously top billing. Hasn't had her best stuff this year and spoke the other day about struggling to put 4 rounds together, but still been happy with her game. And since the start of May, actually hasn't missed the top 20. So she's right there, and this will be right up her.
It's closer than people realise. To finish 100%. Top 20 in tournaments, you're playing pretty well.
And the thing is, she won those 2 majors. She's never been a prolific winner. So she's a top 10 sort of an accumulator.
Like 1,000 times.
She's a good finish accumulator who wins occasionally. So she did give up a few good chances, but that'll be right up to her this week. Hannah Green, again, another one who golf course kind of suits a little bit. And majors tend to bring the best out of her. And little side note that might help her, she's got her 2-time winning caddy, Monica Marquezani, staying with her at Pebble this week. Oh. So maybe good vibes. Yeah. Maybe that could be... And Jared Felton, her fiancé, also there. So could be a good omen. Grace Kim is also a winner this year on the LPGA Tour, like Hannah, and was 14th at the PGA, where she was the top Aussie for the first time at a major. So ultra straight driving, a little bit more power than she's had before, kind of prototypical US Open player, really, Grace. Wouldn't surprise if she was there. And then Gabby Ruffles, dominant on the Epsom Tour, after she missed Q Series following not putting in her entry, which always helps. She tends to find another leg at major championships. How's this? 6 top 25s from 8 starts. That is a remarkable record for someone who's only been a pro since mid-2020 when she turned pro after Rose Zhang beat her in the US Amateur Final.
She was defending, was she?
When she was defending the title.
She looks ready now. She just needs to get her card sorted out, obviously.
Well, she said yesterday, I spoke to her yesterday, and she said she thinks the Epsom stuff is the greatest thing for her because she's learnt to win in an elite level. She's learnt more about professional golf,
being a professional, travelling and all
and
that
being the
stuff.
Big fish in the little pond, which she wasn't in amateur golf when she won that US Women's Amateur or anything like that. Really? And interestingly, I spoke to her about what's going on with Rose versus what's going on with her in their careers, and I said, you nearly beat her in the second time. Yeah. That's kind of almost you. And she was very thankful that she doesn't have the expectation and everything going on with Rose. She sort of said what's happening with her in her career, including Epsom, is perfect.
She's the most interesting slow burn story in golf, Rose Zhang. Just every time she tees up, you're going to watch her and just see what happens. It could be anything.
Yeah, whereas Gabby's going through a traditional entry into professional golf. You go through a lower tour, you win there, you become dominant, then you move up. But for some reason at the major championship, she shows up and she's already dominant.
She's got top 10 in the world written all over her.
Absolutely.
In the not too distant future.
Brilliant.
Gabby Ruffles.
And then rounding out that group is Madison Hinson-Tolchard. She was a Kari Webb recipient this year and spent the week with Kari at the Women's PGA, including having a dinner with the entire Australian crew on the Wednesday night, which would have been invaluable as she prepares to play her first major. She actually won the individual and the team title at the Big 12 college event in the States this year. She's playing the best golf of her life, 21 years old, learning about it all, but very comfortable in American conditions. So Maddie she wants her sort of aim for the week is low amateur. Wouldn't surprise if she goes pretty close to it in a pretty good amateur field.
Big learning week for a player in her to actually go and see the very best women, how they go about it, and where she is compared to them. She'll leave this week knowing what she needs to do better to get there, which is where she obviously wants to go.
I've seen her play a fair bit of golf in Thailand and here in Australia as well, and she's got a lot of good tools there. Just sort of still developing through it, but one of those players that college golf has done an amazing thing for. So let's get a top Aussie from each of you, and we may as well start with you, Rod.
I'm going to go with Hannah Green. She just looks to me for the last couple of years that she's a bit like Rahm. There's a raging bull within whenever you get to the big tournaments that she's just determined at some point she's going to knock another one of these off, and it could happen at any time. You might as well back Hannah Green as top Australian at every major until she wins another one. So I'll go with Hannah.
I picked Hannah Green as well. Logue doesn't move off his picks.
No.
So
and Logue
talking about himself.
Unless they get McIntyre.
Yeah. Unless,
Until they're McIntyre.
Logue doesn't move off his picks unless they're ready to win.
he just moves them on to somebody else. Yes.
I had in my little notes here that it says Gabby or Grace. So,
okay. So nobody's picked Minjee.
I'm going to go with Grace. Grace Kim. She's got such a good golf game for US Open.
Great.
Like, it is so silly how good it is.
Yeah.
She
plays coastal golf. That would be my.
Yeah, she's got a bit more club head speed now, and she'll work really, really well. I think Minjee, I like what I heard out of her, and her game is improving, no doubt. But where she's struggled this year is in really uncharacteristically Minjee ways. They're not the sort of place she'd not make a good hole, make a good score. She's ball striking is where the problems, I think, have come mostly. So if she has that one ordinary round this week, it's going to be a lot more penal than it normally would be. So it's going to be a lot more difficult.
Baffling that she did that at the PGA. Looked like she had that sewn up.
Before we move along, and we will do quickly, let's get an outside chance from everyone. For me, I'm going to go with Anna Nordqvist, who is ball striking machine. So just seems to fit, and playing quite well lately as well.
Again, she contended in the PGA, although we only saw one shot that she hit, holding out on the 18th.
That's why she's an outsider, because she can't even get TV time.
Yeah. Is she an outsider?
She's an outsider. I looked at
struggling to allow that.
Have you seen her chipping? She's an outsider.
I also looked at the odds, and as the convener of tipping, I'm allowing it.
Okay. All right. If you say so.
Yeah, I do say so. Now your outsider tip, please, Luke.
My outsider tip is a Gabby Lopez, who I think is a strong player, very
really
athletic.
Good player.
Yeah, really athletic, exciting player.
Yep.
And I think that strength and the ball striking that she has, and I think she's an exciting player. I'd love to see her do well. Maybe that's just I want to see her do well, but I do think this is going to set up quite well for her.
Rod?
I'm still stuck out in left field. Manon de Roey from Belgium. Saw her play at the Women's New South Wales Open at Dublin.
It is an outsider when I put the little notes here of who everyone's tipped to keep track of, and I have to go with two names to remember exactly who it was.
Well, it's an outsider, isn't it?
That is an outsider. Good player, though. I like that. Okay. Let's move along, and let's go to the PGA Tour and the John Deere Classic, formerly the week before the Open and the last spot on offer into the Open, but it has moved a week earlier. Rod, tell us more about it.
JT Poston defending. What do you need to know?
Enough said. No.
Enough said. Staple on the PGA Tour. Tell you what I do like about the John Deere.
One of the best tee markers in golf.
Well, they are, but more than that, they built that excavator with the giant putter head
with
and a giant ball, and you can go and have a go and try and putt the ball with this earth mover.
Oh, okay.
As you come into the...
Did Louis Oosthuizen ever do that?
Yes, he did.
Be a killer at that.
He would have done.
He did, yeah.
Louis Oosthuizen once made a hole-in-one at a Volvo event, I think it was. Yes. Was playing with the GM of Volvo. It might have been in the Pro-Am, where he said to the GM at Volvo, the prize was a car, and he said, "Can I swap that for an earth mover for the farm?" The guy said, "Yeah, why not?" So they sent him an earth mover for his farm instead of the car that he was supposed to have won.
How's Louis going, by the way?
Hey?
Just dropped off the face of the earth, really.
Well, he's part of the much underrated Stingers.
Yeah, I know, but he hasn't done much, has he?
No, he hasn't.
You'd feel like he kind of retired, didn't he?
Yeah.
Louis?
Yeah.
I mean, it was only the Mickelson PGA where he was sort of in contention as well.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's not so long ago.
He won't be here this week. I tell you, we'll be here. Tournament records held by Michael Kim, 2700. The reason I mention it, discovery to me, best follow on Twitter.
He's great.
Good. Yeah. Professional golfers. He's fantastic.
Yep.
So if you don't follow him on Twitter, do so.
Teammate of Max Homer at UC Cal Berkeley.
Oh, there you go. I didn't realise that. There you go.
Might have won a national championship together, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, great follow on Twitter. Really interesting sort of guy. TPC Deer Run. It is exactly what you would expect it to be, especially given the sponsors this week. The conditioning is
Wybring involved in the design?
Yeah, Wybring actually designed the whole thing.
Yeah.
Opened in 1999. This has been played there ever since. Nobody's going to wax lyrical about the marvellously clever design and the intricate nuances, but this is a nice golf course on a nice piece of land, and if birdies are your thing, you're going to see plenty of them this week. The pros really like this golf course. Field strength, 9 of the top World 50. This tournament tends to expose a new player. It's been won by a first-time winner the last 6 or 7 years. Jordan Spieth won his first tournament here. Is this where Zach Johnson had the cannon go off in his backswing a couple of years ago from something out on the...
Didn't it used to be the tournament just before the British Open?
It was.
Well?
They would have
there was a charter jet that would take them over.
Can't afford the jet anymore, so they've moved the tournament a couple of weeks
when
earlier.
Mark Hensby won and didn't end up playing in the Open because he didn't have his passport.
That's right.
Classic Hensby.
Classic Hensby.
John Senden also won there and got the last spot one year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was played on a course, not this one, I think. That it was sort of a replica course.
That's
Or
a
a
long
homage
time.
course.
It's been
Yeah.
here since 1999.
Oh, really? Oh, maybe this
This course opened in 2000.
Okay. This course doesn't have homage holes? I'm thinking another
No,
tournament.
you're
maybe.
thinking of something else completely. So, look, what this week is really about is watching players of the future, your Ludwig Abergs and Gordon Sargent, those PGA Tour University guys. This is kind of their week to play and shine. So that's what you'll be looking for, I think, this week. That was a very impressive performance from that Ludwig Aberg.
Yeah.
89 for the first time like a month or two ago. As you know, watch out for this kid. And wow, hasn't he backed that up with actual play in big time events? So my tip, Adam Hadwin.
Nice.
Playing well, nice bloke, and his wife is a great follow on Twitter.
Yeah.
it is.
Just gives it to him constantly.
Yep. No,
Magnificent.
Low,
playing.
a tip?
Sepp Straka.
Oh, BJ's favourite player.
Yeah. Austrian?
I didn't know.
Is he Austrian?
Yeah, Austrian. Yeah. I've just been looking at his stats, and he's sort of, he's up there. He's middle of the field. He doesn't excel at anything really, but he's just consistent all round his game.
The TPC of the PGA Tour players.
Yeah.
He's a flusher.
It's
He
good.
does
Like
hit
there's a lot of
Drinks
a lot of
litres
his
of
stats
Pepsi
are
Max.
up around, ranked around 20th or something like that. And then so when a field like this emerges where there's a lot of the top guys are taken out, I think it's time for a Sepp Straka.
He needs a
step
putting
up.
week. Is all. If he putts well this
Austrian
week,
who actually, I think, spent most of his time in Georgia.
Georgia Tech.
He's actually 8th on tour for putting from 6 foot.
There you go.
Yeah.
Stat.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, the man that BJ sent back.
Is there anything he won't do
Sent back-
to give info
That's right.
to the listeners?
Sent back a note from the Open at St Andrews last year that Sepp Straka was going to win. He was the
remember
cut by.
He watched him on the practice range,
right.
didn't he?
That's right.
He was the couple of-
I remember
Absolutely flushing it.
completely taken with Sepp
He was,
Straka.
he was quite smug about it.
He
Actually.
was.
He was very smug.
Well,
I've got something that you guys couldn't possibly.
I think there was maybe a response that he didn't appreciate from someone.
It was like
saying
he'd
it was
never
ludicrous.
seen a professional golfer before. It's like,
that's right.
"Oh, look at the way he hits the ball.
Amazing.
I'm going to go with Ludwig Aberg. Hype settled a little bit. He needed a couple of weeks just to get into it, and he is going to be something pretty special, I think.
like
So,
Rojang, his head must be spinning with the attention
Yeah.
and all the rest of it. It's just,
but you're right. This is a week where young players often make themselves
And that's-
known, unless you're Steve Stricker and you used to win it every second year.
Nothing wrong with that either. That's
nothing
good,
wrong with it
interesting
at all.
stuff for a
and
golf
on a golf
tournament.
course we all know and is very familiar. It's quite an enjoyable week to watch, to be honest. Next, we're going to go to England, and LIV Golf returns to the site of its first event from 2022, the Centurion Club, just outside of London, despite the event being called LIV Golf London, not a new theme. It's a very exclusive private club. The course kind of goes through some woodland holes, some more open holes, and some grove-styled holes. Designed by Simon Gidman, the course is very long and very sort of just difficult for the sake of being difficult. Charles Schwartzel won last year and only reached 7 under par across the 3 rounds. So that kind of gives you an idea, given LIV Golf setups are not generally that tough, so pretty difficult golf course. Same 48 players we get every week on a LIV Golf event are here, with LIV playing its second week in a row after Taylor Gooch made LIV history, something of a misnomer statement.
really turning into a star of the circuit, isn't he?
Yeah, third win of the year at Valderrama last week. He leads the players to watch, really, for his pretty unbelievably good form. Across a lot of different golf courses too, interestingly. And he surely would love to be a Ryder Cup pick that I don't think is going to come his way.
Politics of that is well and truly still in
That
flux.
is such a difficult thing. But runner-up to Gooch was Bryson DeChambeau, who's still chasing a first LIV win and has looked closer and closer to being the old Bryson at times this year. And last week had a 63 around Valderrama, which is
Playing some golf.
serious golf. Brooks Koepka was third and again is getting ready towards another major, so expect him to be there or thereabouts. So too Cam Smith and Dustin Johnson, who have got the LIV have got their money worth out of those guys. They show up every week. They're close. They've won. They've done everything they need to. So they'll be there or thereabouts. So
been a fair trade. They've been reasonably well compensated for doing that too.
Slightly well.
It's a
slightly
win-win.
well compensated. So let's get some tips. I'll start it off with a Bryson. Why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Luke?
I'm going to go with Dustin Johnson.
Yeah.
Who? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to pick these live things, isn't it? Like,
It is.
who's going to turn up? Like,
Yeah,
who's-
exactly.
like mentally turn up to
Yeah,
play. Like,
exactly.
Do they care about it this week or not? I don't know.
It's the way the schedule goes with big breaks, then suddenly there's a packed in. You don't know who needs one to warm up, who needs one to,
Not like every other week when you can easily pick the winners.
Yeah, well,
because it's golf.
that's
That's the other
true.
thing. It's golf.
But
So-
it's. I think it's more difficult. I think he's right. It's very difficult.
I think you've got players like Taylor Gooch who turn up to play
Well, that's it. I
every
mean,
single time and feasting on.
Yeah, well, if you think of going to Singapore after he wins in Adelaide, and you think, oh, the guy's won his first event here. He's won on the PGA Tour before, but he's not a frequent winner. No chance. He goes and wins again. Like, it's quite unbelievable how he's.
And it wasn't just a win at Royal Adelaide. That was just some staggering golf that he turned on
Even
there.
at the Grange.
Oh, sorry, the Grange. Sorry, in Adelaide. That was some staggering golf he turned on there. So.
Yeah. Rod, a thought?
I'm still bogged down in left field, so I'm going with Schwartzel to go back-to-back, be the first defending champion to successfully defend.
Nice.
Go Charles.
Go Charles.
Going to lead the Stingers to an incredible performance. Is it the Stingers?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Stingers.
Criminally underrated Stings.
Criminally underrated Stingers. This is
As
gonna be
Adam
the start of-
Pengilly says, don't sleep on the Stingers.
This is going to be the start of their march to the flag. The flag? Is that what they call it?
I don't know what they
We
call
don't
it. But my Torquay GC got over the line again last week.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
That's
fire.
2 wins for the week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fowler and...
But that's just
Okay.
my passionate team supporting. That's not Ed yet.
You wouldn't let that seep
I
into
wouldn't
your
let-
coverage of the game at all. No.
Finally, we turn to our Danish expert for a visit to Denmark and the Made in Himmerland on the DP World Tour. Logue?
So this was formerly the Made in Denmark, and I don't.
What is
Can we
Himmerland?
get to the bottom of that? That's exactly the question I asked him before you got here, and he's been trying to find an answer.
I've been trying to find an answer. I don't know the answer. I think they might be making it up as they go along. That's now
Okay.
So we've gone from Made in Denmark to Made in Himmerland. This golf course, Himmerland Golf and Spa Resort, is where this tournament was first held, and it went away for a couple of years. I've played a lot of golf in Denmark, but I have not played this one. This is up in the northern part of Jutland. I've played the venue that it was at a couple of years ago, Silkeborg Rue Golf Club. I played there quite a bit. I like that place a lot. Himmerland, from what I know of it, is a spectacular. We've seen it on TV over the years. It's a spectacular venue. The thing about these Danish golf courses, they're all big pieces of land, and Himmerland's no different. It's got 45 holes,
Lots of space.
Yeah, it's
lots of
huge.
space. Yeah, and
Got
40,
par 3 with the big hill behind
45 holes. The party sort of hole, par 3.
Yep.
And it's, again, typically, I just love this setup that they have with. They don't just build one course; they build 2 courses, and then they build a third course as like a pay-to-play 9-holer that people come and get on. It's a great way to introduce golf to people, and actually even an underused resource in Denmark. But so Himmerland sort of fits the model for that, and it's a genuinely good course, and it looks good. It always looks good on TV. Defending champion is Oliver Wilson from England. Ewan Ferguson, a favourite of mine, came second last year. I'm not picking him.
Oh, good.
I am.
Too.
Not a bad pick, but it's Denmark. I figured I should go for one of the Højgaards.
Højgaard.
I'm westernising or anglicising the pronunciation there, and so I'm going with Nikolai. I flipped a coin.
Okay.
Nikolai this week.
Can I tell you, I've just looked up what Himmerland means and I found it.
It's the place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
But
an
no, why-
area. It's
why is it called
a
Made In?
peninsula.
No, I know that.
Why is it called Made in
I think
Himmerland?
that's
but what's the
tourism
made
body
in
there.
bit? But why was it made in Denmark
That's
before
right.
that?
Because it's like a tourism
Danish
body.
tourists.
Yeah.
What is it? So it's a franchise of tourism bodies, is it? You've
Yeah, it's
got
like
Made in
Visit
Denmark,
Victoria
Made in
or
Silkeborg.
it's like Visit Victoria or any of those sort of things. They come up with
Made
these
in
names that
Himmerland.
they think
I think
that.
this sounds like speculation.
Yeah, you've thrown
I
that
mean,
out
it might
there.
well be right, but,
Yeah, but you've thrown it out there.
If
If Thomas Bjorn's listening, he'll know.
I didn't want to definitively say that. I know where you're going with that, but I didn't want to definitively say that with,
It makes sense. I just don't.
If you don't care about your integrity with this stuff, then you can just speculate.
Just chuck it out there.
Just chuck it out there.
So, sorry, do we land on Nikolai or
Nikolai.
Rod, give me a Højgaard or not?
I'm going with Ewan Ferguson, partly because he finished second here last year and he played well last week, but more to the point, I stumbled across the video again of him putting out of the bunker at the Porsche European Open and holing it.
Yes.
How can you not get on a bloke who does that?
Okay.
I was also going to tip him, but now I feel like I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I feel like
doesn't stop me.
It doesn't stop you, but that strategy
You're
hasn't worked for you.
Winner.
Maybe I'll take Rasmus to go.
Okay.
Alternate Højgaard.
We've got the Højgaards covered.
Yeah, I'll take Rasmus.
Højgaard.
And speaking of Ewans, I think our man Ewan Porter will actually be on the ground working this week at the Maiden Himmerland. Okay. So a little bonus for everyone. That will do it for Playing from the Tips episode 21. Rod, thank you. Logue, a pleasure. You can follow all the action from these tournaments on our website, golfaustralia.com.au, where you can also sign up for our newsletter that will be sent daily during US Women's Open Week, featuring all the news, views and everything coming from Pebble Beach. And we will be back next week with Playing from the Tips.